So today I'll be looking at the Babylon 5 board game, the 2258 edition. So there's a couple different board games. There's also the 2259 edition. And for each of these editions, obviously this is the the larger box. There's also like a bookshelf type box, and this is over twice as long as that. Kind of a long box game. Of course, the series ran for several seasons, and at a high level, it's sort of United Nations in space with the different races working together and not working together sometimes. Ages 8 and up. I'd not really heard about this game much before back in the day, so I thought I'd check it out. It looks kind of interesting. A lot of galactic elements, strategic and tactical. The box looks fine for its time. Nothing too dramatic. Looks like it comes right from the series. That gives you a little bit of a sense of it. The console resides on Babylon 5, voting on many issues which affect the galaxy. You explore the galaxy on an evolving board that is different every time you play. Use strategy to lead your fleets into combat with your opponents. Sway the Babylon 5 crew to your aid to gain edge towards victory. Good thing about these games, based from a series, all the background information of races and how everybody interacts is right there in the history. They call it a core game, the 2258 edition. 2259 is similar. I assume it comes from the different. Each season represents a year. On the Babylon 5, I think that corresponds to the years. So the core game is 2 to 4 players. They also have these starter editions where each player gets their set for their race, and then they combine those sets to either add to this base game or combine them together themselves. But this is a core game. And a copy I got seemed to have some extra components. It's a little bit unclear from the rules because they got kind of mixed together talking about components of the core games, which are 2 to 4 players, and also the starter games. So it's a little bit unclear what to expect in it. And they talk about the version 1.1. But in the copy I got, it's got 2 copies of the version 1.2 rules and 2 copies of the version 1.0. So I'll go with the version 1.2. Maybe I might have just got lucky and got those extra copies. These Empire control sheets, and it says there's 4, and I got 6. I had duplicates of a couple, but the Minbari, Centauri, Earth Alliance, and Narn control sheet, and I got extras of the Earth Alliance and Minbari, but that just might have been with my copy. But in the rules it says you're supposed to get 4. Then on a control sheet here you have the gross economy. Keeps the sum of the economy indicators of your bases on the map. Total upkeep. Keeps some of the upkeep of all your tokens on the map. And your scrapyard here. Net economy. Keep your net economy here. Starting reserve. And turn during your record keeping phase. Add your net economy to your economy reserve. Then here's some starting requirements and options. For instance, start with the Narn Homeworld map piece. Place base 7. The Narn Homeworld hex. Add base 2. The Herd Colony hex at no cost. Select up to 5 Narn cards for your hand. Some special rules here. Then a picture of the homeworld and the ambassador. And then the scrapyard is where you keep things off the card here. Scrapyard and they're destroyed, and then movement options. And then the box, it has this tray handy for keeping components. And in the box here, so there, the container, there's dice. Again, I'm a little bit confused about what I should get here. It says it should have 3 dice. I have 6, and one of those should be the Babylon 5 die. I have 2 of them, so I wonder if you have 2 since there's 2 players. And then there's the defense grid die. And then it also says a standard die. I know in the starter kit games, which is a smaller one, they have that smaller one in the starter kit games, but they have just all regular size here, which is fine. They're all the same style, different colors. The defense grid die comes in different colors corresponding to the different races. So, for instance, the blue die is the Earth Alliance. The light blue die with black lettering is a Minbari. They don't talk about any white dye, so I assume they use these for the standard dye. But for the different races, there's different color codings what the dice would be. And then here's the map hexes, and these are the token hexes. They're kind of normal thickness. I mean, all the tokens are well done. And these are the cards. Several types. There's ability, crew, event, gear, and vote cards. And these are the currency tokens. They come in 1, 5s, and 10s. The ones are smaller. So the playing area is done with these hexagonal map elements. On one side don't show what they are, and you flip them over and you see what they are. They're a little bit, they're not super thick, but they're thick enough to get the job done. And it says that there should be 21, but I have several more than that. It's likely that there's some starter set elements in with what I have here. But these are examples. Any feature or map piece that or token that causes a hex to have a rule as a map element, and then some examples of map elements. So is there these little white circles with black numbers in them is an economy indicator. They're the only hexes where bases may be built. The black circles with white numbers in them are damage indicators. Any hex with damage indicator, and it can causes damage to any token entering the hex. The number in the indicator tells you how many Babylon 5 dice to roll for damage. Jump gate. This is the jump gate graphic. And as you see, the map pieces are big enough to basically fit 7 of the tokens in them. Minefields. They have a damage indicator, but they don't cause additional jump damage. And then there's ones with special rules on them, like hyperspace portals, connect minefields, time quakes, solar flares, vortex destabilizers, nebula, gravity wave, black hole, and it's like relay stations, and then rules for homeworlds. And here's a Babylon 5 location. So the Babylon 5 hex needs a base. Units cannot enter the Babylon 5 hex even when this map piece is unexposed. Babylon 5 cannot be damaged. No player controls Babylon 5. These numbers are for determining direction around it. So different kinds of cards. Here's some examples. So there's ability, crew, event, gear, and vote cards. First of all, there's the card name, the play cost, play phase, the phase of the turn when the card may be played. It's also the phase when the card's periodic functions may be performed. Sometimes it says when to discard it. For instance, discard after use. Depends on the card. This card is unique and may be only one card in play with the card's name. For instance, here. This is the year that's unique, so he's unique in 2258. You may play a unique card if there's already a card of the same name of an early year of play, and you can discard the earlier version. A little bit of flavor text. The avalanche has started. It's too late for the pebbles to vote. Just a little bit of flavor there. And then functions. A dash indicates a function may be performed one time each round. On your turn during the card's play phase. Cannot be used in other players' phases. Mandatory functions. If there's a equal, indicates a function that is always in effect. It cannot be shut off. Must be activated when the appropriate circumstances arise. Conditional events. Greater than sign. Indicates a function which may activate at any turn each time the appropriate circumstances arise. Clarified text. Indicate a little more detail. Empire. Indicates the empire to which the card belongs. Cards with the word generic do not have an empire. And the card types crew. Some of the most powerful cards since they usually remain in play following their actions multiple times. It's played in front of you, showing that you control the board. Stats. Crew cards have stats on them. Define the attributes of the crew stat and the rating for that stat. For instance, here it's health and medical with 4s. Cards affecting a crew. Card is defined as affecting a crew when it causes change in the crew's location controller, play status, or alters the use of a function of the crew. Crew proximity. For a crew to affect another crew, it must be at the same location. Then event cards. Here's an example. Stray asteroid, a generic event. Roll dice to see and place the asteroid token. Take damage. Several different events can happen, of course. Vote. Vote cards. Use an armed vote. While using the vote phase, current player may call one vote during his turn by playing a vote card. Gear. For instance, here's a Bari Triluminary. Represents sort of tools used by a crew. Gear card is played to one of your crew cards. If the crew is discarded, the gear card is discarded as well. Use gear cards and add functions to the crew card in which they are played. If the crew cannot function, it cannot use its gear. Possession. Each of your gear cards in play must be relocated once each round during your record-keeping phase. Move to one of your crew in play. Even a crew prevented from functioning. Periodic functions of the gear phase may be used by the crew with the gear in the gear card's play phase. Then ability cards represent a special ability or power gained by the crew. Ability card is played to one of your crew cards. If the crew is discarded, the ability card is discarded as well. Empire-specific ability cards must be played to a crew of that empire. Use ability cards, add functions to the crew card in which they are played. So tokens, there's some map element tokens. For instance, asteroids, which show the damage that incurs. Jump gate tokens. Mine tokens. Some mines have weapons, for instance this one has lasers. And there's comet tokens. Some cards call for use of comets. If you have a ship in the same hex, you gain a bonus. And then some declaration of war tokens. And there's also moon tokens. And as far as like ships and the like, so generally one side shows undamaged, the other side shows damaged. So the yellow and red is weaponry. Red is heavy weapons, and it shows the arcs that they fire at here. So number in the red hexagon, this amount of damage caused by heavy weapons. This amount of damage caused by light weapons, which are lasers. If there's special rules, they're indicated, like carriers, for instance. Indicator if it has a jump engine or not. For instance, this indication is that this has a jump engine. These others don't. The Empire is associated with hull class or token type. So defense rating is the number indicates how many points of damage it takes to cripple an undamaged token or to destroy a crippled token. Economy indicator, your gross economy equals the sum of the economy indicators, so it's producing economy. Build costs in green is the amount of economy need to build the token. The presence of the build cost indicates that the token is undamaged. Repair cost here, so on the crippled side, this is the amount the economy needed to repair the token. Key cost is cost the economy required to in turn to maintain a ship or other token. So here's setup. I'll be doing the basic game setup, and I'm going to do 2 players, the Earth Alliance and the Minbari. And I'll be doing the standard setup, but then I'll sprinkle in different advanced rules as makes sense for how I want it to go. So first of all, the control sheets got the Earth Alliance and Minbari map pieces. So first you put the Babylon 5 piece in the center of the board, and then each one gets their homeworld. There's the Earth Alliance homeworld, and then the Minbari, and then the rest of the pieces you shuffle between them and divide them up between the two. And then on the Alliance control sheet, it indicates different starting options. So for the Earth Alliance, you put a base 9 on Earth, and then on the Mars colony you put a base 1. On Minbari you put a base 8 on Minbar. So then they each get their tokens, put in the piles here. The generic tokens I set up in this grouping here. Then cards, so they have this, first of all, these are the stack of cards from their empire. And then you divide out the generic cards, shuffle them out. So from the setup sheet for the Earth Alliance, get 6 Earth cards from their hand. So from their Earth cards, they can choose 6. And they'll be going with John Sheridan has 1 vote in council. When Earth Alliance ship activates a damage indicator, reduce the damage by 1 DG. It's good. There's his attributes. During phase allocate. And then General Richard Franklin during allocate. Once each turn, you may use a Babylon 5 die when making a ship's defense grid die roll. Warren Keffer. Once each turn, one of your squadrons may make a defense grid die roll. Dr. Stephen Franklin. One of your other crew members is discarded due to a roll involving health or combat. Make a medical roll. If successful, move the crew to your hand. Michael Garibaldi. May cause an opponent whose card function caused a crew to be discarded to pay twice the play cost of the discarded crew to discarded crew's owner. And then, of course, Jeffrey Sinclair has 1 vote on council. If John Sheridan is not in play, you may re-roll one of your defense grid die rolls each turn. So that's the 6. Then you put the remaining ones of them in your pile and shuffle them. And then the Minbari, they can select 3 Minbari cards from your hand and 2 from the deck. So this is the hand and this is the deck. So I'll be taking the Minbari Telepath, phase allocate, make a psi roll. If successful, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Place 2 back on top of your deck in any order, and 1 on the bottom of your deck. And it's got a health and size score. Delan has 1 vote in council. If a vote you called this turn does not pass, up to 2 cards bought this turn cost 1 economy. And then Linear has 1 vote in council. If Duns is not in play, if the stat of one of your crew is less than the same stat on this crew, add 1 to the stat and its health and combat scores. Take those. And then also you get to draw 2 from your deck here. First one is a build jump gate. Designate an empty hex in which to build a jump gate token. And then strong economy. Add 4 economy to your economy reserve on this turn and on your next turn. So those are the ones you'll have. Put the rest back in the deck and shuffle them. And starting out with the starting gross economy, resource tokens here. 10 economy reserve starting at 40 for Alliance. Gross economy starting gross 8 for Minbari, starting reserve 55. Then beginning play, doing 2 players, so we'll be using the 2-player map here. So Babylon 5's in the middle, then they have both their homeworlds. And you put in the remaining pieces. See who goes first. Starting out, they can build units from the amount they have in their economy and reserve. So Earth has 40 in their reserve, and they got a 10 gross economy. They're going to take some of their reserve out. First of all, they'll build Explorer for 7. They'll put it in their homeworld map piece. And then they'll build a Omega D for 19. And that's a carrier, which can carry a squadron, and they're going to buy a heavy squadron to go on that, which is 6, so they're up to 25, 32, and indicate it's going with it. I'll put it under the carrier. So you can either build items that are generic items or Empire specific ones like these. And if you build Empire specific ones with your Empire, you get Empire discounts, which is the green cost minus the upkeep. So you get that upkeep discount. So for here it'd be 5, 15 for this, and then 6 for the squadron. So total of 26 for that. Barian, they have 55 in their reserve. They're going to be a bit cautious how much they spend, even though they got a little bit of reserve there. But they're going to get a war cruiser for 20. Then they're going to buy a squadron to go with that. It can carry up to 2, but they're going to put 1 on there, so it's 24 total. And then they're going to get a Minbari flyer, so they're up to 29. And they'll take that out of their amount here. And since they're building Empire specific items, you get the Empire discount, so it's 5 minus 1 or 4, and 20 minus 4 or 16 for these two. Then each player in turn goes through the different phases, and the phases are the record keeping, vote phase, allocate phase, move phase, and fire phase. So since the Earth Alliance is going first, there's no victory check yet. Generate economy, so they have 10 because they generate 9 on their main base and 1 on the moon base. So you add 10 to their reserve. And then collect bonuses. Haven't played, none yet. Pay penalties. There's no penalties yet. Cards of duration. Aren't doing any duration cards yet. Cover squadrons now. Discovery of dormant shadow vessels. And there's no dormant shadow vessels. So then we'll go to the vote phase. And then vote phase, they're not going to do any vote cards, so we won't be doing that. Allocate phase. Can build repair tokens. They built a bit and they want to build up their reserves, so they're not going to build any more right now. As far as purchasing cards, they can. So these 2 crew can come into play and allocate. They have to pay a cost of 1 for each of them. So now they have them active. Jeffrey Sinclair has advantage on defense grid die rolls. And John Sheridan, vote console, and can activate damage indicators, reducing the damage by 1 to each. So that's good. So movement. The Omega D has the option for jumping. He's not going to be doing that right now though. So he's going to be doing standard movement, and again he's got a squadron on board. So he'll rotate 60 and then move forward 60 degrees and then move forward 1. So he goes there. So he's also going to do the rotate 60 and move. Rotate 60 and then move forward. And these are the standard movement options here. There are some differences on the sheet. So for instance, the Earth Alliance, Nova, Dreads, and Omega Ds can't sideslip. But they moved into these new hexes, so I get to see what they are. So these are the sides they can flip them over. So there's the planet Sharuktha, a nebula. See, randomly change the facing 1d6 of large ships on map piece at the beginning of your movement phase. Hyperspace portal, ships entering the center hex, jump 1d6 hexes straight forward in the direction they're facing, roll, reroll the resulting hexes off the map or occupied. So that's what they discovered. And then the firing phase, there's no battles going on, so no firing. Then we move to the Minbari. So record keeping phase. First of all, they add to their economy reserve based on what they have for building, and they have 8 from their base, so they get 8. And then they also have to pay upkeep for the ships they have. The squadron doesn't require any upkeep. For these ships, it's 4/1, so you have to take 5 out for upkeep. And then collect bonuses, no penalties yet, no cards of duration yet, no covering squadrons, no discover dormant shadow worlds yet. And then vote phase, there's no voting going on yet. Allocate phase, and similarly they're not going to build anything because they did that first time. They're going to build up their reserves there a little bit. They could, so they're going to buy a couple of cards. Let's see. So they're going to pay the cost of a couple cards that are already in their hand. It's just 1 for linear and then 0 for the strong economy. So linear gets you 1 vote on council. If the land is not in play, pay for that. If the stat of one of your crew is less than same stat in this crew, you can add 1 to the stat. So there's that. And the other is strong economy. Doesn't cost anything. And you add 4 economy to your reserve in this turn and on your next turn, so that's good. And a total of 4 there. And I'll indicate that 1 turn has been used on that by putting a little indicator there. And then he could buy a couple cards from his deck for, a couple credits, but each. But he's not going to be doing that since he's building up his reserve. That's how you replenish your deck. No repairs. Movement. Neither of his have jump gate capability, so he won't have that option in the future. He's just going to move them standard. He's going to rotate 60, then move forward. Got a carrier, a war cruiser with a squadron, so he'll rotate 60 and go here. And then the flyer, similarly, he'll rotate 60 and go here. Then we'll do some exploring. It's an asteroid field, but fortunately he rotated previously, so he didn't end up in an asteroid, otherwise he would have taken damage. And then we'll check out this one. Solar flare. Ships entering the center hex must roll 1d6 on the following table, where 1 to 3 is no result, 4 or 5 ship crippled, 6 ship destroyed. No fighting it, so no firing, no damage. Then we'll go to the Earth Alliance. So Earth Alliance, his budget's kind of tight right now, so he's not going to be building anything. He's still, getting 10 in, but he has to pay out 6 for upkeep. So he only has a net of 4 coming in. He doesn't have any cards with duration. He's not going to do a vote. Allocate. He's not going to build anything. He doesn't need to repair anything. Movement. So he definitely needs some more resources. So he's going to be moving over to this. He wants to move over to this world, but first of all, he's in this nebula. And while he's in the nebula, he has to randomly change the facing while his ship's at the beginning of the movement phase by rolling a 1d6. And the movement facings are this direction. So rolling a die. Static pride is a little bit strange because it goes from 0 to 5. So I'll say that the 0 is a 6. 2. So his facing is going 2, which is the direction he's going, so it's fine. So then he's going to move. He can move 60 degrees. He doesn't actually have to move forward, he just has to face there. And then in the next turn he can build a base there. Where when he builds a base, he has to build it a base 5 to match that. So, and then he can start getting resources from there. Down here, hyperspace portal. Ships entering the center hex jump 1d6 hexes straight forward in direction they are facing. Reroll if any resulting hex is off the map or occupied. Actually, it won't do him much good because to get in there, he's got to face that direction, then he'd go off the map. So he'll just rotate 60 and go forward 1 and start going towards the Babylon 5X. That's movement. He doesn't have any fighting going on yet. So then we'll go to the Minbari, and he's going to spend 2 to buy a card. He's got some resources there. Well, first of all, we'll do allocations. He has 8 coming in, and he's got 5 in upkeep, so he gets a net of 3. He's got 30 or so in there. He can afford to buy a card, spends 2 to buy a card. Surprise deployment, allocate phase, allows you to build a ship facing any direction in a free space hex adjacent to one of your ships. This build cannot be contested, that's nice. It's going to do that. And of course he's got to pay for the ship, apparently. He'll get another flyer, because they're pretty inexpensive. And it costs 5 minus the Empire discount of 1. And he'll actually have it facing right here. So it takes 4 out. And as far as checking out his other cards, yeah, for various crew levels, and he gets, for the strong economy, he gets 4 more for that, but now that's discarded. Nothing else going on that turn. No voting movement. So yeah, he's gonna keep him where he's at, because he can start building there. He'd like to build a base there, but he can't because he's just built this turn. There's no stacking, so he can't move there. But he'll be moving up here, and he wants to go and colonize this world up here. So he'll rotate 60 and then move forward 1. But unfortunately, he has to go through this asteroid field, and it's got a indicator of 1 there, so we'll do that damage. And then he'll similarly also rotate 60 and go up here. So it'll do damage of asteroids on the cruiser. He'll be able to get through that unscathed though, because he's got a defense rating of 8, and it's only 1D, so yeah. Regardless, it would be less than 8, so no damage. No firing. So we move on to the next turn. So moving a couple turns ahead here. So we've established a couple bases to get resources here, have some more ships. And now they're coming into combat. So they're up by this gravity wave. So it's been activated, and if you're 1 hex away, it's 3 die rolls, and if you're 2 hex away, it's 1. So you roll, he's 1 away, so you roll 3 Babylon 5 dice. And they do have John Sheridan, so if it activates damage indicator, you reduce the damage by 1 DG, so that's good. So first of all, if it gets damage equal to or greater than its defense rating, then it is crippled, which is 7 here. So 3 times, 3, 4, 0, so he's okay. He would have reduced it by 0, but they're okay, they're not crippled. And then they're going to launch a squadron. That's what they're going to do. And they have, so now they're going to do combat. And they declare fire. They're going to be doing a long range here with his heavy weapons. And then he's going to do his laser. He's within 1 for that. Against this Minbari fighter. So give them, Minbari get a Earth war token. So they're both going to be firing at the ship. Him with his long range, heavy, and him with his lasers. The damage he can take is 3. And his long range can do a max of 3, but he's at 2, so it's going to be reduced. And his lasers are 3. But he still might be okay, because he'll get to do a defense grid die roll. So for the long range ones, you roll a Babylon 5 dice. And that's, so he can only do a maximum of 3, and that's his capability anyway, so he's fine. It could have been reduced to 2 or less, if the roll would have been that. So he's going to do 3. He does 3, so it's a total of 6 on him. And then the opponent rolls the grid die roll. This is for the Minbari. 3. So total of 6, 3. It's still equal to or greater than his, so he's crippled now. Now he goes to his crippled side, where he'll can do less damage and can take less damage. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of sense of how the play goes. So that's Babylon 5, the board game, 2258 edition from Component Game System, 1988. They also have another edition that's from the Babylon year of 2259. You can get add-on sets as well, which is great. I quite like it. It's the components are nice enough. You have tactics, you have galactic strategy. It's interesting how you do the movement on the galactic scale, but then also your tactics are within the hexes. So you don't have like a separate tactical and galactic map. So it's kind of interesting how they do that. It's obviously somewhat limited by doing that, and you have the whole. So it's good, and you have the whole background story of the actual universe, the Babylon 5 universe, and the different races, and the races have somewhat different capabilities. You have cards you can build up of different characters and their gear they can have to give you bonuses, etc. You get in hexes with different planets to colonize or hazards. In some ways it reminds me of Space Empires 4X, so it does have a lot going for it. So yeah, it's kind of hard to find out there, but I was happy to get a copy. The fact that it's it plays all right and it's got good components, and I always like that it's tied into a universe. So I'll give it a 8 out of 10. Thanks a lot.